So before we get started, I just want to say hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. If you're here live or if you're watching this video later, I'm Val Massey. I'm the head of community for Consortium 9. With me today is my lovely guest, our CEO, Brooks Brown.
Hello, everyone.
Who's going to answer all the things.
All of them.
All of the things. Except the ones that we already said, no, we're not going to talk about that.
Yes, yes.
Primarily today, we're going to focus on our roadmap.
I mean, and it's what I said in my year-end video, that this last year has been extraordinary. And it has been. The entire team thinks so. It's been a time of deep growth in terms of our knowledge of how Web3 operates and how crypto works and tokenomics and all of that. We've brought on some extraordinary people in Web3 as well as in the game side of things. To sort of help us get through. And as we've done that, and as the world has moved when we talk about crypto and continues to in both hilarious and tragic ways, it's what's the Marx saying? First is tragedy, then is farce, then is farce, then is farce, then is farce, then is farce. It's been really interesting to sort of, have enough room that we can adjust the roadmap, and we'll be talking through kind of all of that. But it's been wild. It's been a wild year. And so it's kind of nice to be able to get to this, talk through it. Oof.
I kind of feel like because we're still relatively low key, compared to some other projects out there that are far more well known than we are. So I'm comfortable with where we are because it keeps us out of the kid with the magnifying glass burning the ants on the sidewalk. We're not under the magnifying glass.
Well, yeah. And I think also, anyone who's been in game development, especially, I know you've done a ton of MMOs and been on that side of things. These things take time. Like anyone who's like, oh, we founded our company last week, we'll be launched in 4 weeks, and our game's going to be ready in 2 months. It feels like that era of Kickstarter projects that had extremely unrealistic timeframes and then stretched out and stretched out. And I think ours, we were pretty clear that this year was going to be the year of our launch. What that means and how we roll out, I think, has come under adjustment. But, we gave ourselves enough room that I think we're pretty happy with where we're at for the most part.
For the roadmap, what are you thinking in terms of timing for the Running Man gameplay preview, land sales, and the NOR soft launch / public launch?
All right. So let's pull back because those are that's so many questions at once. Please remind me of the order of them when I come back, because I'm going to start with let's start with the Running Man game. It's good because I mentioned the Running Man a lot as being like deep inspiration for a lot of this project, and I don't want to say otherwise because it is super inspirational. What we're first launching with is not going to be Running Man specifically or a game directly like that. The way we're going about and what we're setting up is we're building a series of titles that are kind of each individually part of what will ultimately be our gigantic, hunt people down Running Man, gunplay, lots of secrets, lots of cool stuff, systemic world thing. That's not a thing you build in 6 months, but the smaller titles are. And so when you break apart each of the different sort of small competitive elements that we need to refine and perfect before we get there, and because our platform is designed for deeply competitive systemic games, we're releasing a series of sort of, I don't want to call them smaller games. I mean, they are smaller than a gigantic Running Man systemic world one, but they're full-fledged competitive titles that take advantage of each one of the systems that we need to refine and perfect. Because underneath all of it, ultimately, what matters and comes first is players. And players, both meta players and infra players, or athletes and citizens. The thing for us is that needs to be perfect. So this first title, the sort of parkour racing running title that we've leaked and we will be sharing a lot more of, we'll be having over the next month or so, sort of a lot more reveals around that, and you'll get to meet the team, see what we're working on, all of that as we head towards that becoming sort of playable in public. You're going to see other titles sort of start slotting in as well. And all of these ultimately sort of head towards like our alpha tournament setup, which again starts heading towards the second part. Was the second part about the larger sort of public launch or land? You said land. Sorry.
Yeah, land sale, and then about soft launch and public launch.
Oh, good Lord. There's so much to answer there. The titles that are building up towards Running Man. Running Man's not going to be this year, like that giant game. That's not it. We're building smaller, fully competitive games that are going to be part of the NOR platform alongside external games that I'm off having conversations with and we're signing that'll be heard about later. Those come as we start having those reveal and we start getting gamers in, because again, the games are really built for them. Alongside that, as the platform starts hitting that point where we're actually going to be having an alpha, which I would expect to be this year, aiming towards end of summer, late summer, early fall, for like a full alpha of the platform where people can go in. We've got a good amount of the systems in place. The marketplaces, we can start having tournaments, at least at a high level. When that moves to beta, which is like basically when we have the system running, when we have everyone's feedback, when we have all of your feedback, the people watching this, especially now, if you're part of this early community, that is going to be your thing. You're helping us build that and set that up. When the beta hits, the land sale will precede that or be alongside that, because that's basically the full platform. At that point, once the land hits and we have everything set up, we have all the buildings, we have all the capabilities, we have the ins and outs, we have the pieces that go with it. Those are the things that are the setups ultimately. So that is sort of the way we're aiming at it right now. The beta, we have arguments about exactly when it'll be, but I would say about a year from now is when we're aiming for the full beta launch towards that. But I think it's even possible earlier than that. It's this year, but alpha following, game reveals following a lot more. So it's a lot of pieces and systems that we're putting in place, building towards the larger thing. And it's been a challenge as we've had to sort of revisit. And, we were in a place where we were very comfortable with the overall design 4-6 months ago. And then the regulatory environment shifted. But also, I would say the security environment shifted a lot as well. And as with all games, you have this really sort of interesting push and pull as technology moves. Zero knowledge wallets and zero knowledge IDs. A year ago was a cool idea. Like that's all it really was. A year, maybe two, there were people playing with it. But as that tech has matured and as that code has matured, we're constantly in a state of, do we hold back and bring in this thing that I think is a genuine game? Zero knowledge proofs is a genuine fucking game changer for crypto, I believe. And I'm not alone in that. We can fight about it if you want. Someone will want to fight me. But as those come in, it's adding another month here and there. I think it's worth it for the most part. And it's that constant tension of, do we hold? Do we get something? Do we build? So our general timeline, still this year. It's more the alpha this summer. And heading into beta end of the year-ish, as we sort of move towards a full launch when the thing's ready fully. And we'll be doing a bunch of eternal returns and tournaments and all kinds of things through the whole process.
I think that one of the common comments that we hear is from people who think the game should already be out. I've dealt with that through my whole career, is that there are people who just don't quite understand the whole development process and what goes into it. Sometimes you have this great gameplay feature, but the technology isn't there yet, and you have to wait
Correct.
for the technology to catch up. And then what you had to do or what you wanted to do is kind of obsolete. So that's one layer of it. But now you're adding in all of the NFT stuff and the crypto stuff.
Well, and again, all of it, to your point, the reason Halo was a success, like if we want to talk about some really basic things, Call of Duty and Halo are a success because the games feel good to play. Yes, they're very good in a lot of ways. I'm not saying that the other things don't matter, but Call of Duty today, go play Warzone, and then go play every Call of Duty, start going backwards, and you will literally see the evolution of how controls and movement are done over time. These are not small. They're small things in, oh, it's as this, there's a slight twitch of the camera in a certain way that makes it feel more intense. Call of Duty went heavily for the visceral speed setup versus Battlefield's a little bit more strategic, held back gunplay, slightly different time to kill. Halo is there because it got this right. Like that's literally Halo's entire thing is they figured out controller. We didn't have controllers in first person shooters that were fun. Sorry, GoldenEye. Prior to that, they really nailed it and they hit that. These things take time. And with what we're building, because we're not building a mathematical card battler, which literally is just putting together a handful of equations and then figuring out how to balance it by running simulations and then doing that. That's not our setup. We're building systemic movement. So we need to make sure that when a person jumps, when a person hits a ledge, when a person touches an edge, how they run into each other, what happens, making these things feel good is far more art than science. And it takes very talented people, which I'm fortunate to have, spending a lot of time on it. And so the games are coming when they're coming. They're not going to be coming out when they're bad. I can tell you that much. They're actually not going to be coming out until they're great, which means we have to get past good, which is not fun. But it's not just the movement and the feelings of the movement. Sorry, I'm still recovering. Don't get COVID, kids. Take care of yourself. On the other side of things, the way we're designing the economy and the complexity there is the same systems. These are not mathematical things we can play with. These are setups that play with stuff that really interact in complex ways that need to be built in a way that is secure, that need to be designed in a way that's user-friendly, that need to be allowing onboarding of all different types of people. And these interactions are not simple. And so things take as long as they take. It's less the coding and more the art. It's also the coding. That's what makes it fun.
And Emilsitas in the stream chat made a comment akin to, it's when games get into trouble when they have to be forced out the door for financial reasons, when you're beholding to investors.
Go play Forspoken. Go play Forspoken and tell me how
half the games that I've worked on where the publisher pushed them out the door and I'm just going, it's not ready. It's not good.
No.
Okay, let's move on. So let's talk about the land sale. I think that was the last part of this, was asking about land sales and what the plans are for that.
Yep. Well, that's actually pretty easy. Our remaining aspects are going to be hitting and coming along with the alpha because we need the rest of the membership set out. And again, don't worry about whitelists and the normal shit. We're not doing that stuff. We don't care for it anymore. If you're a member of our community and you're active, if you already have an 81 and a 729, you're for sure taken care of. But everyone else, you're set. We're going. You're not going to be like left behind or anything. Do check us once a week. You don't have to be hyperactive, but check on us once a week. But, we'll be hitting as that comes. The remaining aspects are going to get out there and we'll be able to alpha test basically the tournament system, platforms, tickets, tournaments, permadeath, all the fun stuff. And then as other features start getting slotted in and we head towards beta, the land sale is that mark. As I said, and that's when it comes. I have slightly different opinions, but we're within a few months of each other. It's, again, about a year from now, end of November to a year from now, maybe a little bit longer, is where we think we're going to need in order to be ready for land sale and then the beta of the platform. Because once land is out again, that's an incredibly complex series of interactions. Once we have people able to stake buildings into land, how do we allow that to happen? How does our token flow through such things? How do people get it distributed to them? How do we do it in a way that's legal? Because again, I'm not going to jail. How do we do it in a way that is not securitized? How do we do it in a way that's fun and interesting and rewards people for taking chances, but also doesn't punish unharm? Again, it's how our token's designed is one of a kind. And that's what we get when we decide to do it. And it's just going to take when it takes. But that's the setup. Land sales, basically the mark of the beta of the platform. And beta is basically the features of launch, which is terrifying.
I wanted to mention, because we're going to be referencing the white paper. So if you're new to NOR, if you haven't seen our white paper yet, you can go to the Welcome to NOR website. Scroll down to the bottom, and down at the bottom, you'll see different words like, contact us and that sort of thing. And you'll see white paper. That's how to get to the white paper. If you don't have a direct link, you can't find it in the top navigation. Anyway, I just wanted to mention that for people who are hunting it and can't find it. All right, moving on. In the last several months, we've had an extended period of white paper releases and AMAs focused on the NOR metagame. Do you anticipate another period of metagame-related info dumping and AMAs to happen before the platform launch? Or will information like what the effects are of bonding a fourth and a fifth aspect to a third aspect come via gameplay after launch? Everybody who has the aspects always wants to know, what does this mean?
Mm-hmm.
If I have this and I have this, and if I have this other one and I have them together, like, what does it do? And Egan and I have to tell them we're not talking about that yet.
Yeah.
So I can understand people wanting to know.
Yeah, it's so we're not going to be doing another sort of series of white paper dumps in that way. From here out, you're going to be hearing about features as they're being built and implemented, as they're being set up, and we're going to be showing you as we're building. It's I mentioned at the end of last year that we're moving from a tell to a show phase. Instead of show and tell, old marketing terms, we're going to spend time telling. That's what the white paper is for. The white paper is for abstract conversations I wanted to be able to have with all of you in the community, put things out there, wait for people to tell me where things went wrong, have those conversations, which we did. Watch people like ETH Lizards, Wolves DAO, lots of you lots of those people really dive in and start picking apart stuff, which they're still doing, but no red flags. And that was the goal, is to get to that point. And with that, we begin development. So as we implement shit into the platform, you'll be hearing about it. And it's not going to be like, oh, here's today. It's like, no, these are the features. These are coming. You're going to get to see and meet probably less of me, because I'm not necessarily doing the implementing in the same way, but more of Chris, more of the Web3 team, more of Fred and the games team and the platform team. As we start doing stuff, you're going to see them. You're going to see development. You're going to have those conversations. It's a good group, and you're going to get to basically see what's happening as it goes in, and hear about it. I would say prior to features going out, but it's basically constant community updates and things like that. And as a slight thing, I keep saying we have like a Web3 team, and that's because that's kind of their background. We're starting to integrate all of our Web3 guys and pulling them out. It's a thing I encourage a lot of other companies to do. You'll notice me use the term Web3 a lot less over the next coming months. Aside from the general challenges crypto has, I am going back to where I was, which is treating it as an enabling technology, not as a conceptual force. And that enabling technology being part of our experience platform, being part of the setup, having engineers build good things, rather than having the Web3 team, a platform team, and a setup, instead putting them all together and potting them up, proper software development, I would say, is going to be where you see it. So when you hear me talk about the experience team, that's going to be basically all of that. Chris will get into it more, but it's a thing I think has been very successful for us over the last few months, and I think is going to continue to be, and I encourage most people to sort of move towards that. It's a tech department, not really siloed people.
Are there any games other than the Running Man? We keep calling it Running Man. That's not the actual name of it, but you guys know what we're talking about. Are there any other games that can be announced, or even genres that you can hint at?
There will be more games. That's not a question. Not developed by us. They won't hit our specific genres for the time being. I'm kind of keeping us having a nice little run where we can do stuff. We're going to have the parkour game. I haven't got another one. Feel free to come to me. If you've got a great parkour game, you come talk to me. I don't mind that. I'm not seeking them out. The people we're talking to in the games that we're looking to set are very different genres. Hitting a little bit more on, you might even say, towards what you might consider more casual style games, still heavily skill-based. Some single player stuff that I'm talking about, more speedrunny, Twitch style content, and a couple other multiplayer titles. Can't say specifically because until the ink is signed, I am not making promises. And until, I know I don't want to jinx some deals, but we're talking to really talented devs. And I think we're in a fortunate place that a lot of people in crypto aren't, where what we're doing, because we're kind of treating it as an enabling technology, and we're not, hardcore Ponzi-nomics or chasing sort of that traditional thing. People in gaming, developers in gaming, are very afraid of taking the plunge because there is a stigma that comes with it, especially amongst, if you're a public face, there's a stigma, especially on Twitter. People don't like having people angry with them. Even if it's not justified or is, no one wants that. But we're fortunate because what we're doing, we're like, you don't worry about it. You don't have to, there's nothing in your, don't worry about it. Just build us a great skill-based game. And that enabling moment for them where they don't have to worry about monetization, where they don't have to worry about, is this enough content? It's like, just build me something that's fun that people can compete. That's what I want. And the eyes just light up. And if we're able to sign even 2 of the games that I'm talking to, I'm very, very happy.
Will there be an initial simulation of a season in NOR for early aspect holders prior to the platform's official launch to help test the structure and also to see how the economy behaves?
Yes, there will be at least, goddamn, I hope we at least do one. We're going to do a lot, actually. The alpha Eternal Returns are going to be very short. They're going to be based around maybe 1 or 2 of our titles, maybe even 1, and then 2, and then 4, and building out and going as we go. We have a lot to test. We have a lot to allow you to exploit and not reset and not fuck with. Again, it's kind of the fun part of decentralized tech is we can't like reset it. If we build something that ends up becoming exploitable, we want you to exploit it. We need to know that that's how it works. And we need to know it soon. And we need to know it when we're very small, because if it happens when we're really, really, really big, it's a bad day. So that would be the goal, is we have a lot for the alpha. The beta too. We expect the beta to not be like a 20-minute thing. And again, we're using beta the way software development uses the term beta. Gmail was in beta, I think, for a decade. Betas are intentional, and they are testing periods, and we are intending to test for a long time to make sure we nail this. Because again, this is not we're going to do 5 Eternal Returns and then the project's over. We want this to last for decades, and we want it to become self-sufficient and running. And that's a lot of work. Aspect holders are going to be the thing. It's the reason we've kind of done this last year, finding these people, the hardcore of the crypto sphere, but also not ultra Ponzi types. People who are like into crypto for crypto's sake, who love the idea, love our idea, who travel with us. Like, those are the people we want at the beginning, and they're the people we want through this. Well, these are the people who we want testing and pushing and trying things, because you're also clever. You're also not generally sons of bitches, but you can be. And we like that, and we want that. And so that's the exciting part for us, is having aspect holders, so you have citizens, be those testers who can help us find all of this and fix it as we go. I'm jazzed for it, actually.
Is Consortium 9 concurrently working on other projects as well? If yes, what are they?
I'm glad we don't have any other projects. I don't think I could handle anything else. I've been growing 2 little people, and that I think has been the other section of my time. Nor is it. Like, that's the whole thing we're doing. We have other ideas, and we have fun conversations around what we might do next in a couple years, but we ain't there. Everything we're doing is focused on this, and we're all in. We're all in.
Let's talk about aspects a little bit. What is the process for getting on the whitelist for the 4th aspect? We see this every day. People come into Discord and they're like, "When 4th?"
Yeah, we need to write up a new one for this. So the very short version is that we're not doing whitelists as the world knows them. And I think whitelists in general, I don't want to say have become passe, but I'm not even really seeing it in the same way as it used to be. For us, the aspect that's coming is part of the alpha launch. You know how I said this, the land is the beta. The 4th aspect, that's the moment when we're building and we're getting the alpha going. The first people who will get to sign up for the platform are current members of the Discord. I shouldn't say current, the Discord community, because it's going to grow again here shortly, but you're getting to go first, and you're going to be getting an aspect. We will have more aspects than there are current members of our Discord, so we're fine. And then that sort of set up, obviously after second and third aspect holders, but like we're not doing the same normal crypto experience. As I said, we're folding the what we call the decentralization team into the rest of the experience group, and they're just going to be building alongside of it. And so it's going to be a lot more of what you might see in a normal software setup or a normal sign up, but it's not going to be the whitelist as we know it. We're done with that. There's too many security issues, too many flaws, too much gameability. Just traditional ways are going to give us that security and that setup. It's going to be nice, and it's going to be fully integrated into the NOR platform. So it's not going to be oh, cool, you get it, and then it sits in your wallet. You get it, and you're in the system, and the system is running, and so the platform's going, and you're literally in our marketplace, and all of our stuff's going. So it'll be our first look at the alpha, running that, and starting our first season, leading to our first
again
return.
for people who are just hearing about NOR for the first time. You haven't spent much time or any time in our Discord. There's a few things I want to mention. We don't do airdrops.
No,
we don't do stealth minting. We don't do any of that stuff that you've seen in a lot of the traditional channels. No one from our team is going to send you a direct message out of the clear blue and ask you for information, or, say, hey, go click this thing and you'll get this wonderful, sort of vanquishing. We don't do that. And also, how active you are in the Discord has no correlation to whether or not you get on the whitelist or anything like that. It's just, people have complained, like, oh, it's so quiet in here. That's okay. It's okay that it's quiet.
We're not driving. So one of the things there's a big kerfuffle going around the Twitter cryptosphere about a handful of projects that were gamed and what it takes to game projects and what it takes to game any of these things. The reality is that early in production, communities are a little quieter, and we're going to have periods of excessive, intense interaction, which we just got through. And then when we kind of have a slowdown, it feels like it's desolate and nothing's happening. That's not the case. Shit's happening. We're doing stuff. Come say hi. Be lovely. We're not pushing for it, though. We don't need you to be, 92,000 messages a day kind of thing. We're here for quality. We're here for people saying hi, connecting with each other, helping each other through things, which is one of the things I've very much enjoyed watching the community do. And I think it's because a lot of you also know each other from other communities. So we're in this really fantastic Venn diagram of people, but it's going to be a little quieter. We're going to be doing more. Hey, meet Chris, see what he's working on. Meet Fred, meet Matthias, meet these wonderful, talented sons of bitches who I've hired to do some amazing things, and see what we're building. And it's going to be leading up towards a lot of excitement, but it is, we're aiming and holding a lot of major announcements for that, for a reason.
All right, moving on. When will the fourth and fifth aspects be available to mint?
So the alpha launch is the fourth, depending on reception, is going to be the fifth. Again, it's a 9x increase. So the fourth makes a lot of sense. We're going to have a solid number of people, and I think we'll be able to easily get through the third, especially given what we're looking at doing around that. But the fifth, that's fucking huge number of passes. That will probably be closer to beta or afterwards. But again, it'll be when the player base is there sufficiently. All of these things that exist as things are built as they are to enable us to expand or contract as necessary. This is why I designed the token the way I did. This is why we're setting everything up. It is allowing us to expand, but never be larger than we can sustain. And right now, anyone who was part of our last NFT sale, we didn't drop them in 20 minutes. We did sell through them, and they're doing quite nice, and they're keeping their value despite being in crypto winter. But we're here to basically respond to the market. We're business people. This is proper marketing, is that it's understanding the market. So as we get going, we're going to have a lot of noise. Fourth aspect, no question. Fifth aspect, it's like 50,000. Maybe hold that for a little bit. Give us a little bit of power to sort of stretch that out as we hit towards beta or past launch. It's a player-based question. Scale, right? Isn't that how it works? Scale?
Scale is good. I'm a fan of scaling. Has anything significantly changed in the development of the game economy since that section was added to the white paper?
Significantly, no. I would say actually pretty much all of it. I mean, I don't want to be declarative because the less one makes declarative statements, the less one is apt to look foolish in retrospect, is the Lincoln quote, I believe. But nothing's changed so far. Right now we were working with legal, and some very, very good people who really, really are deep in space of regulation, taxation, all those fun things. We're building something as a token, as a virtual currency, as a whatever the hell we call it, that no one's ever built before in how it functions. So that makes it really fun to have conversations with people who are more used to like checking boxes. We're in the clear on all the stuff that like really terrifies us, which is great. But then there's all the little things. When do you count this as revenue? When does this count against this? Is this a tax event for this person or not? And designing around all of that. So we're in the middle of sort of finishing out a lot of those, what I would call the details, but nothing that's in the white paper gets into that stuff. So it's like details of those things are possibly shifting, but even there, we're seeing that everyone we talk to is like, oh, okay. And it seems pretty great. I think people expect the worst when they talk to crypto people because, hey, that's a security, sir. Is mostly, I think, their conversations, and we're not that, so we're pretty happy.
Yeah, some of those people are kind of scary.
Oh, it's terrifying. It's a weird space because we're doing stuff no one's ever done, and already the space is doing stuff no one's ever done. So there's not actually a lot of answers. Like there's no like law that says here is what this thing is. There's a lot of feeling out. There's that line of it's more science is more art than science. And this is kind of more art than science as well. Because it's not been done, there's no hard lines. People are trying to figure it out.
Well, and I think there's also a lot of sensationalism around the space, and the evildoers get a lot of press, and so you're not and it magnifies, so it seems like everybody is a bad person. But it's not. That's why those stories are headlines, is because it's not common.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, all right. That's my bit on that. Will there always be a fixed allocation of tokens per season, or could this number increase or decrease over time? Will the pool backing Fate increase and decrease over time? If yes, where will the additional funds come from?
Okay, multi-part economic questions are my favorite.
Yeah, sorry, and that's even after I edited it down.
No, so. Okay, so every season within itself. Let's talk about in a season itself. In that season, there is no increase in the number of Fate tokens within a season. The backing of those tokens, that does increase. So, for example, let's say I'm NOR and you're big money spender X in the metagame. And I've distributed all of my tokens. Say there's 100, I've given 10 to you because everyone gets distributed at the beginning of the season. You use those 10 tokens to buy my hat. I give you my hat, you give me 10 tokens, I'm NOR. Those tokens go right back up for sale for $1 a piece, whatever we put them up at. And that's standardized. There's no value. There's no variance there. It's at standard numbers. Let's say it's $1 a piece. That then people buy because, again, as tokens are pulled out, as there's purchase desire, as we have things for sale, and even externally, there's upward pressure, great upward pressure actually on the value of those tokens. People want them. They need to use them. All of that fun stuff. when you buy, say you buy those back, those 10 tokens from me, and you buy them again, but you buy them for $10, now there's an extra $10 in the backing. Now let's say everyone does that with all 100 tokens that are out there. There's $100 now extra backing it. There's now $200 backing. That's a 2x increase. We talk about this in the tokenomics. We go pretty in depth, actually, the direct functionality. So yes, the amount backing the Fate token increases throughout the season. And then at the end of the season, everything resets, distributions are made, all kinds of fun shit that we've gotten into. It's in the white paper. Again, worth checking out. The next season, there may or may not be an increase in tokens. There may even be a decrease, depending on how many people are playing in the metagame, how many games we have, how many players there are. My expectation, generally speaking, is that that magnitude that things increase is actually going to be telling all of us how large the economy necessarily needs to be, or that there needs to be more purchase syncs, or that there needs to be more X or Y. And we're going to be able to respond to that based on the demand every season that the consumer shows us, that literally becomes quantified inside of the backing of the currency and how it's utilized, which again, all public, all visible, all shown. So the next season, let's say we get a 10x backing. The next season I go, I want more than one game. I want 10 games. The backing for that comes from us internally, the backing pool. So I guess not us internally. It gets fun to talk about this shit. Imagine being an accountant with this. But it comes from that pool, or it comes from a developer, or it comes from someone buying their way into it. We're going to have a lot of inroads. So it's not just Brooks and a handful of people who are part of, one thing picking. Maybe people have amazing ideas that I haven't met, and they're able to bring them to the platform. We're going to have ways of onboarding that, again, are going to be handled by our sortition councils. That's the deal there. So every season, there will be a fluctuation in the amount of Fate that is part of the economy. Infra season, within the season, there's a set amount of Fate. That's the way it works. That setup becomes a cycle that sort of perpetuates itself. Feeds into itself. Perpetuates is the wrong word. Feeds itself, writes itself. I don't know. That would be the way I'd phrase it, I think. Yeah, that works. Yeah, that's the answer. That's going to be the answer to that very complicated fucking goddamn question. Jesus.
Earlier, you mentioned ZK wallets. Is that being developed internally?
I mean, no, not right now, but yes, also right now. Like, I'm not having, like, that's a tough one. We're in the process of figuring out exactly what we can do with that, but we're very excited about the technology. Anyone who follows me on Twitter or is any of the conversations I'm in knows that I believe that the future of crypto is going to necessitate zero knowledge identity proofs, because if I don't care who you are as a person, I just need to know that there's only one of you. That's it. That's the necessity for understanding the value of any of these things. If I see you doing as a thing, you are Ghost Entity X. I don't know your age, your sex, your gender, your location, your name. None of that is relevant, but I know there is you, whatever it is. And I know you're buying a thing. I know you're not 19 people buying that thing, fucking with me, trading with yourself, which is really common in this space. I need that. But it also will give me the chance to follow people, to know who that person is, to have that maybe not even attached to anything specific, but knowing that there's a unique organism is, I believe, sacrosanct to the future of adoption in crypto, without a question. And so, yes, we're building that. There's things that are being done. I don't know enough about literally the coding. I'm not smart enough. This stuff's way beyond, honestly, me. But we got good people. That's what they're doing.
We do have good people. And speaking of those good people, someone would like to know, are some parts of the dev team outsourced?
We have a handful of gameplay engineers who are part of Keyword Studios. They've been wonderful to us. We needed to supplement a handful of that. Otherwise, right now, I don't think we have any other outsourcing. No. All of our platform stuff is our internal guys and setup. And the majority of our games team is internal, but we had a handful of extra sort of, that game development's no fun, and we have a lot of sort of grunt work and specific things we needed tackled for cheap and fast. And so we have a couple people on the dev team over there.
You mentioned decentralized tech.
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean that C9 tech will be open source?
I'm not going to say 100% yes. It's hard not to keep a lot of the what would you traditionally call Web3. It's hard to keep any of that stuff sort of hyper secret because of how it's built and how it's set up. And we're going to be relying on a lot of the stuff that sort of necessitates that. I will let our engineers answer that before I do, because there are implications in a lot of ways, having been through that process, that we'll see. That's the hope, I would say. I'd like that stuff. That would be nice. But
so these last several or questions that came in during the live stream. Are you fundraising now?
We are. If you have a decent check size and are interested in being part of our Series A, do reach out, say hi. Our contact form is on welcometonor.com. It's the easiest way. We read all of those. I get all of those. Chris or I or Jay get all of those. We'll read it and we'll talk. We are in the middle of that right now. Yes.
Will your tournament platform integrate with existing games or only consortium funded games?
There's some specific phrasing there that I'm having trouble with. And so let me expand on that. So integrate with...
Rephrase the question in the way that you want to answer it.
So I can answer it both ways, depending on what they mean by existing games. So one, it's not only consortium funded games. No, if you have a wonderful game, if EA came to us, we're building it so we're open. We're fine. Bring your cool, amazing game to us. But when we talk about like integrate with existing games, we're building plugins. There's going to have to be literal legwork to actually integrate the sign-in system and the process we're handling for the player, some camera stuff. Like there's things that need to be done as part of a game. We can't just go, cool, here it is. And we can go, cool, we're ingesting the game. Like Steam sort of just can put any executable on its platform. It's not really how we operate. It's a little bit more legwork than that. So if that makes sense. So we're open. We're able to integrate a bunch, currently building out and finishing the Unreal sort of plugin for that. There'll be a Unity one, no doubt, soon enough. And others. We're open. It's not just going to be the two big engines either.
You previously mentioned that the project will eventually be turned over to the community via the DAO. Mm-hmm. How will the transfer of ownership and decision-making go from Consortium 9 to the DAO? At what point will this transfer of control happen? Man, we're not even in alpha yet.
Well, no, I mean, look, this is still where we're at. The lawyers, this is part of the conversation with the lawyers, because the intention and where I started with it, and a lot of other people, honestly, started with the idea of DAOs was... I think with their original spiritual intention. Their use has been to allow people to pretend that they don't have to obey the laws. And you do. And because of that, laws are being shifted, their interpretation and rulings around them are changing, and we are in the process of figuring that out. Where the line between us staying as a service group that basically services the DAO, and which ultimately becomes a larger scale nonprofit, or that there's other slices that we have to maintain because of the nature of taxes or the nature of literal legal liability, is its own fun nightmare discussion. So stay tuned on that. Very much stay tuned on that. I wish I had a better answer. Stop doing illegal shit, people. I just want to stop. It's that line in Liar Liar. Stop breaking the law, asshole. Yes. But it's every time we start having these conversations and we get into really good places with lawyers, with everything, it's great because we believe in this. And then lo and behold, someone goes out and does insane fraud in exactly the way or very close to, or utilizing the words, which is the worst, is utilizing the words. Now we can't be associated with those words anymore. So we have to be careful about how we set up. I wish people would just stop breaking the law and ruining it for everybody. But hey, people.
But for those people, that's the game. That's the game. It's not the game we're building. It's the game they want to play. Is, how much havoc and chaos can I create?
They want to see how far they can push it. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. But just please stop breaking.
They're like velociraptors. They're testing the fences.
We're trying to build an industry here. Can you stop breaking the law? That'd be great.
How can community members get further integrated and contribute more to NOR? I love this question. Join us in the Discord occasionally.
Well, yeah.
Follow us on Twitter. Follow us on YouTube.
Interact.
Not
say
just
hi.
follow, but interact. Yes.
Find people who you think would fit into our community. Feel free to throw them towards us. Like, we're not like closing off or anything. We're not some hyper secretive thing, but we are in a stealth mode. Like, people who know about us, they kind of wink at each other. I've seen this happen where it's like, oh fuck, I know about NOR. Oh, you do. Hello. And it's
in the secret club.
Yeah, it's a little bit that we're not going to be that for long. I gave you a rather melancholy sort of good, like, end of the year message because we're aiming towards a much larger community. For now, though, find those people who you think would be really good, get them to interact with us. I'm around. I'm just working far too much, plus kids, plus I've been super sick for like the last goddamn 3 months.
Yeah.
God damn 3 months. We're around, we're chatting, we're going to be showing a lot more stuff. Find people for us. Like, everyone here is here way before we did our announcement. Most of you people showed up before we'd literally built our fucking website. So, like, there's that. And then there's also the other big one. I know Web3 projects are dying. There's a few that are absolutely in a bad state. There are people who are fed up because of this, that, or the other. But there's a lot of very talented people out there who I want to make sure get good work, and I would like them to do good work for me. If you know anyone who's in that kind of position, who's like a little frustrated or is looking for greener pastures, we are actively hiring, and we've got some spots. Feel free to check the site out. We have them also on LinkedIn. But if you know good people, throw them at us. That's the community can help by just being around and sending people our way. That's about it. Letting us know what cool stuff's happening out in the world. We'll let you know what cool stuff's happening in our world. You guys will get to know first, and off we go.
Right now, it's very difficult to understand what the project is actually about from official materials, which is okay because, as you just said, you're in stealth mode. But how are you planning on changing that in the future?
Yeah, so basically you guys have gotten to see what the project is at large in a pretty suffering detail. What we are, in a very simple way, is we are a traditional pro sports economy wrapped around games within that people can play for free. That's the very short version. But this is also complex. It is. But this was the intention. I wanted to start by talking about sort of all the things we're doing, finding all the different pieces. At a basic level, we are here to create and invert the way that the financial system of video games and games works, to make it more like pro sports, to make it more like a large scale actual economy, rather than just this weird commodity, build something, pray to God it goes well, purchase system that has yielded games that have spent hundreds of millions of dollars and flopped because they're content nightmares, that are pushing for games on mobile that utilize words like churn, or decide that a consumer's value is $4, and so they'll only spend $4.50, like they'll only spend $3 or $3.50 to get them there and to keep them. Like, these kinds of things are hyper cynical ways that the current industry works. Our switch is just that. Most of you are metagamers. Some of you are not. Some of you are both. But you will get to see professional players. You will get to utilize them, trade with them, work with them, contract them, give them strategies, be their agent, help them with sponsorships and ads, buy, sell, and trade them as if it was a real world fantasy football, which is what we're building. As we get going and moving forward, you will see our messaging change from this. I've been overindulging the intellectual side of myself, but also all of you, because it's fun. If you saw me early on, I did a long talk with Animositas, and we went over a billion things. I've done that with a bunch of people. It's been a blast because a lot of people in the space are like that. A lot of you are these sort of over-intellectualizing types who will spend time on it. Our messaging is going to change. It's going to be very simple. We're aiming at 2 people. Come here if you are, and we have other words around this that we're smoothing out and other ways of doing. Come here to actually have a business in games. That's the metagamer world. And also come play great skill-based games and prove yourself to the world for gamers. And those 2 messages are going to be how we simplify and set it up. There's not a lot of people who cross over. There's not a lot of people who need to know every little detail. When people come to Welcome to NOR, when people come to Cora the City, when people play our games, their onboarding path is not going to see the gigantic picture. They're going to see their part. They're going to see what's in front of them, and they're going to have a great time doing it. But a few of you have now gotten to see all we're doing, and you get to really understand the implication of every single part. That's going to be what changes.
Is NOR and the games going to be fully on chain? I guess NOR and the other games going to be fully on the chain? If so, why? And what chain are you going to use?
So none of our games are going to be on chain. All of our games are going to be just executable traditional video games like you would see in Steam, utilizing our login and a very, very simple system that enables us to basically have games that are not touching crypto, but are absolutely utilizing our what we're calling our permanence layer for players and their data to be cell phone and decentralized. I'm not going to say what chain we're using, but I will say that is a thing that almost at this point we're starting to see becoming less and less relevant. More interesting to us at this point is what chain the discussion will be, and the announcement will be of the chain that we're partnering with as we move forward building what we're doing. Because it's like a lot of people and friends of ours who've decided to build their own and go out on their own. There's a reason for that. The chains that currently are the big, gigantic sort of power holders in this space, they built their stuff for what we understood crypto was going to be 2 years ago or a year ago. And the people who are even releasing now, and there's some amazing chains that are coming out now or have been, they're built for use cases, and all of them are. We have a very unique use case. And so we will be on ETH. Don't worry about any of that shit. That stuff, again, like I said, it's not the stuff that's important. We're very excited when we get a chance to finally signal where we're landing. It's going to be a fun one, but is that a satisfying answer?
I'm satisfied. Is it possible for NOR to integrate with cash games? Texas Hold'em, for example, citizens will be able to sponsor players and share their winnings? ?
So no. I mean,
Chris said yes.
No. So it depends on how it's set up. Our setup is simple. The games themselves are not going to have crypto in them. And I cannot state this enough, and I've said this from the beginning. We are building traditional, classic, good games. Where they connect is the player themselves, their NFT, their permanence, the things that they've achieved, they've done, and what they've set up. It's not going to be a player can go in, here's another wallet that has a bunch of money, go play. Will we have Texas Hold'em? I doubt it. We are going for like a different type of skill-based gamer. We're going for Rocket Leagues, Lethal Leagues, lots of league games. There's always a lot of league games, competitive skill-based titles. And there are a fuck ton of them that have a ton of players. We're going for speedrun games, games that are literally like about perfecting speedruns. We're going for Kaizo. Like that's one of my genres that I'm aiming for very heavily. We're going for systemic sports, which there's a bunch that are showing up, and there's more that are coming. The coming wave of games is moving far away from the AAA. There's a lot of indie studios who are building interesting systemic titles, and our platform is very primed for them. There are other places.
Well, the other thing you need, I'm sorry, I was going to say the other thing you need to consider is that whole, Dr. Ian Malcolm quote, Jeff Goldblum in Jurassic Park, where he says, you're so busy trying to figure out if you could, you didn't stop to think if you should. So yeah, there's a ton of different kinds of games out there, but if you start, dividing up your time and your attention and you're trying to be all things to all people.
Well, and there are places where dangerous. You can go play poker. And we aren't optimal for that. It would be a very interesting sort of integration, but we are optimal for, hey, getting over it. Bennett Foddy, as an example, as a single player game, having championships for that, having it for literally any major complex shooter is not hard for us to integrate and build in, because the skill matters. Counter-Strike, Dota, not crazy for us to have those conversations, because again, the skill is what matters first, and that type of game is where we're aiming. So I would presume no. Yeah, we could, but it's not our bag. There's better places to go do it, and I leave that to people with that drive.
All right, closing thoughts besides follow us on Twitter, join our Discord.
No, I mean, so in the coming weeks, you're going to start seeing pop up, hey, so here's what we're going to be sharing. Here's this for the community. Here's video of this. Here's what we're building for this. Here's how we're thinking about this from the development team themselves. It's going to be a lot less of the over-intellectualizing from Brooks. I'll still be here. I'm still going to be doing my AMAs. You're still going to be able to yell at me and at me whenever you want, and I know you will. But it's going to be a lot more showing, and it's going to be stuff I'm excited about. And I'm excited to get feedback for it too, because that's the reason we built the community we did, is feedback and helping us.
All right, we're done.
We're done. Thank you guys.
Thank you, everybody.
Very much. Thank all of you.